So I thought I'd make a video about a few things. My teeth hurt really bad right now. Bottom teeth, it just feels like feel like they're shattering. I really wish I would have been able to get braces early in life. You know, I have a beautiful smile and straight teeth. My teeth aren't that straight. Aren't really that crooked. You know, I got, this that goes out like that. And anyway, so I wanted to make a video about a topic about my biological father getting beat up. I don't know how to explain this. I don't know, when I say I don't know how to explain, it's like I get these emotional impressions from people at times, and I'll be from a distance from them, or I'll get these sort of, they're not visions. I'm not trying to go down the road of psychic, okay? I just interpret of what that emotion was meaning to. Sometimes I'm right about it. I feel like, and the reason I say this is because they hit me in my chest again, a different direction now though, and then back over there. And the reason I say this is because I was in 5th grade, and I was watching Miss Giller, in which Daniel Box knew Miss Giller well, and I think that was person who was a transgender. Yeah, they were, because they were really big. And they looked like a Michaela version, just like a giant size of Michaela. And Miss Heather, who was my 5th grade teacher, I recall them having a conversation and saying something along the lines like there was something very serious that happened that involved like someone else of a physical altercation. I don't remember, and they were sort of in the hallway and there was sort of, I didn't remember hearing there was a fight, or maybe I heard something, the word beating. I don't even think I heard any words like that. I just feel and knew that they were talking about my biological father. My Uncle Beto, he told me, he goes, he goes, Laro Chito, the golpeó muy feo. So I think that also leads me to the direction that's how I sort of evolved this understanding that my biological father at some point, there was a group of people that had beaten him from an inch of his life, like really fucking bad. And would it have been very likely for him to be my biological father to use drugs? Yeah. To be a drug addict with a blonde white woman, and depending on how wealthy she was and what environment, I just know that for someone to go from having a baby with my mother and going to having a blonde woman like the way she looked like Barbie. That's what she looked like. That's what he got. And I don't know, she could have been a prostitute. I don't know what the situation is, but back in those days it was very different. It was before internet was ever around. So that's what I think happened. That's what I could be wrong. Maybe it was totally somebody else, but I think that had something to do with it. There is no doubt in my mind they knew about my biological father, because I was in 5th grade when I walked by my Michaela, which is my sister, and I just remember her just they literally stopped us right across. She was going that way and I was going this way, and she had her hands sort of behind her back like this, and she was just like a goody 2 student, and when she stopped, she looked right at me like no other person, no other girl or person I'd ever seen didn't have fear. Didn't have fear at all. And I kind of got irritated and pissed off because I wasn't particularly used to seeing such a kid, especially a girl, look at me and directly like that. And I, at that time, obviously, I was kind of puzzled, and I really didn't think of it, very much of it. I thought the girl was pretty, but there wasn't any type of, oh, I have a crush on you, none of that shit. It's my own sister. But even at that time, I just remember there was it was a very piercing focus, and just was like, sort of, I want to say, very cardinal, sort of, presence. So, I thought it was important to talk about because I don't know what the situation is. I went downstairs to the community room and somebody said something about her parents being drug addicts, and I thought to myself, that's probably what could have probably likely happened. There was one particular situation that I thought about Michaela. I believe that I don't know, I sort of put these ideas, I don't know if any of it's true, it could be totally off the wall, just completely just bonkers, non-true, but who's to say that Michaela didn't get involved with drugs and she was transporting large amounts of cocaine out of a duffel bag, and she was being sent on cruise ships, and she was being sent on cruise ships for smuggling drugs, and she was getting paid a lot of money, and it was a guy that she was either with that was involved with some other people that were making all this money, and they got her and a few other girls to do this because it was very common. That's what I think happened. Because the fact is that you have Michaela showing up at a Lawrence Community Shelter, which would have been a perfect environment because I had no idea that this person's my sister. Even though when I was inside when the bunk, I was with all the homeless people in the bunk area, I remember something came to my mind saying, that's your sister. I don't know, somebody was saying this some shit, but I remember something saying this, she's your sister. It was very lightly. And I thought it was just, I didn't really pay attention to shit, But anyway, I say this because the fact is that the Lawrence Community Shelter is right next to a big jailhouse. It's next to a jailhouse, okay? The jailhouse is right next door. It looks like a big doom. You ever seen The Hotel? I can't remember what movie it is, but it's an old school movie. The guy that plays the father in Edward Scissorhands that looks like he looks like, what is his name? It could be him. No, it's not him. It's Dali Salvador. He kind of looked like a very artistic guy, Dali Salvador, with these little thin mustaches, little thin eyebrows, with kind of like a tweaker of his own creativity of colors and wonders. Anyway, he kind of looked like that, but he plays in that movie. Well, he plays in this hotel movie, and if you look at this hotel-looking building, that's what it looks like at the Lawrence Community Shelter. That's kind of like a big doom house. And I think it's important because what does that relate to how you would have her? Because it has something to do with her. Either she has someone that was involved in probably high-level narcotics. In my opinion, there's Michaela's a very, very pretty girl. Okay, and she's nearly my height. At 5'10", she would fit in the categories of a supermodel. 5'10", 5'11", supermodels are tall. And to be 5'10" is very, very tall and she's the face, and most important in the model world that everyone knows is the skin that you have is the most important. You can have all these features and all this other stuff, but your skin has to be very evenly well balanced. And that's the number one thing. So given the fact that Michaela falls in that category, but she doesn't have any big breasts or anything like that. I don't know if she ever had breast implants. She could have had them removed. I don't know what that is. I know it's kind of gross with your own sister, right? But I'm thinking this is a medical sort of science approach to it. But the reason I say is because I think that could have been the case. I think this very much could be the very case where it's resolving that. Well, it is, because you have all these situations that are going on and people that I don't know about what's going on in their lives, and you're exchanging different amount of problems with these problems and having these psychologists and having these other people. But the whole ball of games, it never changes my circumstances. I'm HIV positive. I fucking had a bone marrow transplant, which probably wasn't even a bone marrow transplant. I'm still questioning whether it was a bone marrow transplant because they gave me chemotherapy. I lost all my fucking hair, and so it's very. It doesn't change that just because I died when I was 28 years old and being able to ever get women again in my life of my choice and not be forced or pinned the way I wanted to, not be able to live by somebody else's rules and way of life, doesn't mean that somebody else's life needs to change. Like Madison, whatever anybody does, when I got that kill shot, when they came and they gave me that kill shot, that ended me. That ended me. Anytime I start pointing the fingers afterwards, saying, "You motherfuckers, it's too late." And the president, being the very big top dog that he's going to be, and all these situations, life still needs to continue the manifestations the way that it did. It's not going to say, because they're all very, very intelligent, and there's a very small fraction of people, in my opinion, in this world that I believe that are very genuine to evenly divide and add kindness and very justice attitude. And you think that they're police officers and Ken Coopers and Sarah Coopers, they're not. There's a very small fraction of those types of people. And in my opinion, I think I fall much more in the category because the way that I was raised, and I do think it's also because of genetics. I think also genetics is, if you notice how some people are very happy and very smiling all the time, or they enjoy laughing all the time, I do believe it's genetics. I do believe that there is a huge part. It's just the way that's what I think it is. That's why some people. It's not saying that everybody can't be happy, but that's not what I'm saying. Or it can't be fixed to be. But I do believe that is the scenario. I think there are bad seeds in the world that don't ever get reached out to be fixed, and then that's what happens. So, but in my opinion, I think that, so if I reflect on myself and what this person would have, Michaela, in their actions and decisions, without a doubt, we would have set a radar. Every single guy, every single person, after that one. When you don't have that fame in any of that situation, it does not matter. It'll reach to you one way or another. And if it doesn't, she's a very attractive girl that guys are always going to go after. A girl that is 5'11", 5'10", standing up same exact height as me, 5'10". I'm a guy too, like. I'm 5'11", 5'10 and a half, 5'11". She's at least 5'11", at least 5'10", maybe half an inch shorter than me, or exact same height, and that's very, very tall for her. So that's what my opinion of it is, because you can have a really good seed, and a type of individual that really helps alleviate the community and of human beings and what's right, because women are good at that. You have to be genetically a female to understand that. Genetically, it's not transgender pretend shit. No, but as far as any of the circumstances, go with this, that. I think that possibly was a high level, situation. it doesn't change. I understand that just because my life, I've understood this for a very long time, even though I get pissed off here and there, it gets easier to let go when you get older because it's over. And, my life is never going to change. It's not. It's going to be the way they put it and what those options are going to be from now on. I've very accepted that over the last several years. There's at least 5 years, seven, 8. I was probably in my early 30s where it just, that's it, and dwindling down at 41 years old. I'm closer to the funeral home than anything else, and so for me, I understand that however much it was my own fault and however much it was somebody else's fault, doesn't going to change that they're not going to close the doors on Madison. They're not going to close the doors on you can't have any children, or you're going to go fuck this guy, or we're going to give you good opportunities and have a good life over here, and we're just scum you these emotions. I believe I'm intelligent enough to understand this and the magnitude, and my mother doesn't have a hair of a fraction to understand the magnitude of what's going on. And when you start exchanging emotional values and profitable gains in different manifestation ways, it's just not money and wealth, but shifting the emotions and stances and many different formats, and what was really given to us to what was really given to them, and what was on our table that went over to them, and then went over to them, and they're very smart. That got terminated. That, it's very difficult because you realize why you have to be evil, why you have to do wrong things, real bad shit, because that's the people that get involved in it, and there's not going to be any justice. They went about their life, and they went to the cemetery, and they felt good about it, and everyone cherished them. And they didn't tell these people they were monsters because they wanted to cover up their homosexuality, they wanted to cover up their life, they wanted to make excuses. My brother, Frankie, is probably, I know, going to be the biggest inspiration for me in my life. Without a doubt. Because he got 10 anal rapes in his prison cage, and now he's a vegetable for Ken and Sarah Cooper, and you want to feel sorry for old bitch? You want to feel sorry for Madison? No, you did this in teams, motherfucker. But it doesn't change. I do believe, and then they're going to split that one even more to give it to Sarah, and they have been, because all these fusal emotions and all these things that are so valuable, my mother, I think, does understand to a degree, but not to the fraction of what the value that's really getting put on a table. You have Michael Jackson on the table emotion, or do you got standing on the corner, nobody knows who the fuck you are, with a fucking guitar? What do you think is valuable? Oh, God exists though, huh? But it's very unfair. It's very unfair to have your childhood is the best years of your life. Your childhood is the best years you're ever going to have in your life. You're going to be an adult your whole life. Have a good childhood. But me and Richard Murphy used to talk about that, and when John used to have to stay in his house all the time, but we all talked about it as friends. We all knew at 11 years old and 12. We all knew when I was 12 and 13. We talk about it all the time. We're kids. We get to have fun. We're only going to be kids. We're going to be adults our whole life. So to have that taken away, and is it going to change? Because I'm my mother's only defense. I'm only Frankie's defense. Every time that you came and poisoned me and you did all this fucked up shit, isn't going to change it. You have suiciders. Madison and her fucking kids and family, husband went on, and then that was a white life. The horrendousness of what Frankie went through and what my mother didn't explain, it's just, it's so unfair to degree, because that's how Frankie then comes at me with it. what's so frightening about this is the fact that how smart Ken and Kenneth was about this in that family. How smart they were to calculate this shit, because they knew, okay, go to the next one. Okay, now this one's going to come in ours, save us, and we'll exchange this problem. Nobody knows the secret about, homosexuality. We got to keep it a secret. All these different things that it's like you're going into combat. If you hold a crucifix and no gun, you're going to get killed. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. Okay, it doesn't fucking work. The realities of the materialistic world are very real, and that's what ultimately they did, and I know that it did, and it's going to be covered up, but there was no justice to it, and that's, it's a very unfair situation, because that was such a brutal kill shot, and I had so many people coming at me that nobody really wanted to say something, because people are always going to come up with problems and explanations to why they get it better in life or why they gave more in life, but you are not going to fucking get it. I am a fucking atomic bomb that fucking got Michael Jackson, and it was Frankie being fucking muled like a fucking donkey and fucked. Just donkey fucked. Okay? Donkey fucked. And toyed with and brutal, and we don't get anything from this. And when you exchange the money to my mother, they go after me at my job sites because you have a bunch of queers there. And so when I don't pick up on the things and don't hurry up and do what they want, then every one of the gays also think they need to do something else in all these situations. But it doesn't change the fact, it's never going to change the fact that at 28 years old, I'm smack dead. There's a transgender. It doesn't going to change everybody else's life. No, I had so many enemies and so many people that did so many bad things and layered it that they killed themselves so many times later. Like Michael Rossiter. You got the lazy motherfuckers who don't know how to work. They didn't want to work and had the abilities to get full-time jobs. Eric Quintero or Chris Martinez that was fucking working and freeloading on his parents' money. Or whatever. I don't even know if he paid rent, but they're giving him fucking high quality fucking jobs just mysteriously. He was making $12 an hour when I was 14 or 15 years old, and he was coming over to my house. When I was 15 years old, he came over to my house. He had already been working there for like a year, and he was working as a mail boy, making $12 an hour. And when he left, I think he was making like $13-14 an hour. You know what that kind of money was back in those days? Well, remember how gossip gets connections and whatnot? Yeah, well, it's just a different story. It doesn't matter. You ain't going to get a car unless you got money. You're either going to do it as a criminal fucking way, but ain't nobody going to just give you shit. Nobody's going to give you anything. And those are the things that you need to have in order to, you want to be a DJ. You can't dream about it. You got to buy the equipment and have all the knowledge of it, and then do have the discipline to fucking do it. But it doesn't change the fact that I know that I lived my life as willingly, as godly in so many different ways. Even though I fucking did dope, I smoked meth for maybe 6 months, probably 8 months total. I went to school at Mary Grimes High, I think, not high, but coming down off meth, no more than twice. And it was for one day. And I remember going home, and this is when I told Michael, don't ever get the fuck out of my house. Get the fuck out of here. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't want nothing to do with you. And, it was not me. Like, I never robbed people. I never robbed anybody for dope. I never did anything to get, it was only because I was around the people that were doing it around me, and they just offered it to me for free because they just wanted to party and abuse me. Don't understand that as long as I don't speak up with what I was sacrificing and lost, then these pigs, that's exactly what they fucking did. And I'm lucky to be alive to even explain this to you right now, because they're still gonna fucking get it. And they fucking did. And it doesn't change the fact that they suicide themselves But it doesn't change the fact what was taken away from me, because then somebody else came and killed me, and then now you want to pass it over to this one, and now you want to pass it over to this one. But just because I got killed by this one doesn't mean your life changes over there, and your life doesn't change over there, and your life doesn't change over there. But when I was asking you for help, you didn't want to help me. And I have Michael Jackson on that fucking table that you can utilize all the emotional compartments and manipulation of that stance, of that stage, of that experience directly at any celebrity and add that magic touch, and it's very effective. It's very effective with the women, with political power, all the situations and names above. So, but I was killed. It doesn't change anything. That's it. You know, that's it for me. So, you know, it's a very difficult situation, you know, because, you know, what you killed from my mother by her looking at me and saying, I gave you something, son, so I wanted you. No, you don't get anything. Now, what you get is Patricia. Now you get the transgender community. No, wait a minute, what the fuck? Now you don't get anything. What did my mom have taken away that? Oh, but Sarah Cooper, feel sorry for that bitch. No, feel sorry for Ken. Raping his ass out. The President of the United States is covering this up. He did not want to pull the fucking trigger, and he doesn't. I think, in my opinion, that since there's so many gays and everybody knows it's everything that's there in the entertainment business. All the musicians are more creative. You look at the furniture, they're real creative, all kinds of shit. They own a lot of the money, the businesses, and they navigate that way. But it isn't going to change the fact that, you know, what happened to Frankie didn't put any leverage on the situation very much. Thinking, oh, you know, he's our fellow gay. How the fuck, some crazy motherfuckers went after him. We got to protect him. You know, he's our member. There was no benefit from that, or from me, very little. And it shifted right over to these pigs because nobody cared. So, you know, I know that I can't do anything about it. At 28 years old, I was shot dead, and you know, the magnitude that, you know, Roman will show up in his wheelchair, his little walking cane, saying, "Oh, I can walk now," and then, "Oh shit," you know. But it isn't, you know, the little that I was asking for, that nobody wanted to fucking help me. They took everything and my dad's wealth. It's at a magnitude that nobody, not a person in this fucking world would ever fucking want to accept. And it's hard because they corner you to God and Jesus. Look, this fame shit, it's very short-lived. It's only for the young. Everything else after becomes political power. You've already had the sex you want with all the ones you picked out. You've had all the wealth and the money. You've had family, but you continue. So when you're living on the streets, you have such deprivation of things in life. You can try, and then eventually someone will help it. It was already placed on my table at 5 years old with the potentials, and all this shit was going on, and there was nothing that gained from it. And it was the Cooper family that did this, and it's not going to change the fact that as horrific and manipulative as they were, and other people that also were, the President of the United States is the one giving the orders. You are fucking worthless. This is why it is important for them, for people to have been very dark and evil, because they're going to get away with it. They just put their box right there. They put their storage box right over at that crucifix, and they'll do it again. And they don't give a shit. And what happened to me? But I'm very accepting to understanding that just because my life stopped in such a brutal way, that I wanted it to happen to other people, because I was such a good person and such willing to do good things and do these nice things that I think that I didn't have to, and I could have manipulated in so many detailed ways that I paid attention to with consciousness of that idea of thinking of God, that that I believe that that I think that they shouldn't have had those things granted to them. And it was all through racism and all these homosexuals and all these, the brutality of what we went through. I'm accepting to it. The fact that I think that was Cisco's sister that did what she did. However, how much that gets divided in isn't going to change the fact that just because my life stopped doesn't mean that yours should and shouldn't have dreams come true, or at least get the understanding of what the world and entertainment is, but which is so brutal about it. That is going to be something that's very going to be painful for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter. It does not matter when you hear somebody get on stage, the whole world and the affected, and it isn't going to change the fact that, well, this person was Mexican too. Oh, but then this one was white over here. Oh, but then this one over here. Oh, but then I was my fault. 45 tickets and all these explanations. People are going to die. Friends are passing away. People are getting sick. That's the reality, the anecdotes of life. That is very sad that, as much as we want to think, you eventually can get a taste of that stage, and I think it's great to some degree, but it's very short-lived, and it's not the dream come true as being when you're young, you're 20 years old. When people say, like Justin Bieber says, oh, there's a lot of things you think would make you happy, I knew that. To me, the success is more important of experience that of my own experience of being youthful. That was the wealth and success. I believe I knew I was molded early, and that's what's so sad about these circumstances, is that there are very, very beautiful strawberries out there that are really just good seeds. And I'm not talking about good-looking people necessarily. I'm talking about their characteristics. Their personalities are so great molded to be really placed in that type of environment, to really flourish the American dream, to really flourish life in ways that is just, two thumbs up. It's just really good, very good. They eat healthy, they take care, they know what compassion and sincerity, empathy. They stay very focused and disciplined. They're always moving to creative ideas. They have so many great elements in every department in life. They're very well put together. And they have a very, very healthy belief in God and the church. They're very healthy, but not stupid. And so I think that, it sucks when those strawberries get taken out, because the bad ones come in, and then it gives you more reason to clean up, and more reason why the bad ones could just turn into good. So, but I think it's important to discuss, because I'm accepting to it for a very long time. I mean, especially now at 41 years old, even if I, because I really enjoy working out and lifting weights, and I know there's more to life than that. It's something I understood a little bit much more better when I was in my early 30s, because you're always trying to change. I'm always trying to chase this image to attract women, and the sort of lust that I enjoy getting from women. Sort of doing a ceremony of dance, the Rico Suave, the samba dance of seductions, of not actually ever. It's more of a dimensional, spiritual sense of a heightened of awareness and connection with an aroma that really fills an empty room that doesn't have the fulfilled energy, unique. But I think that those opportunities shouldn't be lost. But at 41 years old, it's much more easier for me. At 40 years old, it is, because it's easier to let go, because I'm old now. I got a lot of gray hair, and that fame stuff. I think it becomes only important because you want to go help people. You're not really supposed to be selfish, but you need to be, and you gotta. I understand that all the footsteps that a lot of that I have taken, and many others have taken, have already been there in Hollywood in this whole entertainment world, and they have sort of psychologically fixated that environment to how it fits in to people. So they know how to correct that shit. But the thing is, age is limited. Your life is limit. You have this amount of time before you figure out whether there was an afterlife or you burn in hell, or you weren't good enough, or you didn't accept Jesus enough, or you just were a horrible monster, or you were a monster the whole time and you figure out God wanted you to be a monster and kill and burn a bunch of people, innocent people alive, and barbecue little children and feed them to your dogs, and he just said that that's how mysterious the universe was, and then you went to an afterlife where you came to a fully understanding to why things ended up happening the way that they did. But it isn't going to change the fact that whether it feels like an eternity and all these different things, when you go depart out of this world, you depart out of this world. I don't. You don't. When I leave, you don't. That's the way that it is. Even people that, even people that, like the World Trade Center, when all those people passed away and died, they all separated individually to whatever their own person ended up being. Each single as an individual, as a person, and good or bad. So, to my understanding, we do have that 100 years. Some given 104, 105, 100. I think the record is 117. World record, I think, is 124 years old. A French lady. But other than that, understanding that that time is limited, and we're all chasing after the same thing. You just want to survive. You come up with another excuse to survive some more, and then it's a different idea why you want to survive again at 40 years old and at 50 years old. But you will never get that youth and time again the way that they took that away from me and you. And that's why they did that. And there's not going to be any justice, and that's why they did that. It was, if you thought this one, Patricia Gardino, was as suicidal as this was, or whatever it was that this person and that trained her and infected her with HIV, isn't going to change the fact that you had all these other people as well. And you're just trying to shuffle. So as soon as they stay in their rankings positions and hold their firm position, they stayed there. Frankie and my mother and me and everything that was going, they gutted out the situation and then psychologied it with the identical twin, and then because of this and And remember, it was me. Oh, you know what Kenneth has to say? Oh, but that was my grandpa. He showed up once or twice the entire lifetime to my house. There was no good communication. There was none of that. But do you see how the power of the word has a lot of deliverance and power to that? That's all he has to fucking say. But I can't spend 4 fucking years, 5 years to tell you all the details and things that I went through, but I didn't get shit from this motherfucker. Oh, but that's Sarah Cooper's dad. Yeah, It doesn't change. You see, my mother's the poor village lady. That's who she is. She's a ruthless, very kindness, poor lady village, especially because she's the gooder half of what the other twin is that's been is a decoy that my mother is. She's been playing against my mother, and it isn't going to change the facts. It doesn't change. They dissect the situation, what happened to Frankie, and they're going to dissect that as well. It doesn't change the fact that just because my life stopped, it doesn't mean someone else is. So, it's very hard because I don't like to feel like I'm being sold to the blacks, and that's what they're doing. And that's why this is a big problem with the situation, because when you try to sell a fully grown man sex, and I ain't never had a real girlfriend ever in my life, then what happens is, it's just about Jesus Christ and love, and you contaminate that person, and now it doesn't even matter, because the people in charge, the president and the psychologist, then follow it through all the way to the cemetery, and then they give their complaints. It doesn't change the fact that I was murdered and killed, and I asked you for help many years ago, but you don't want to go and shoot and kill these people. They came and killed me and my family and my brother and all this other shit. You don't want to do nothing about it. But I met Michael Jackson, motherfucker. You're not going to touch a detective and police officer, but you're not going to touch your fucking kids because he killed a bunch of people in prison. Oh, he was a good guy, not going to change. It's just Auschwitz. That's what a Nazi German is. That's exactly what a Nazi German is. And they practice that with the females. It's a tough situation because, I'm accepting to it. They know that's the biggest step, is the fact that Frankie will be my biggest expiration because he's all mentally fucked up, and if he wasn't, they know that that's a bit of a fake game because they're calculating that. They understand, okay, we get Frankie, yeah, alright, we don't say nothing, and then Hector will get all fucked up, we'll send our people, oh, I didn't mean anything. Okay, now, what happens is that Frankie will then give Hector the inspiration. God, Sarah Cooper, I'm Sarah, I only do, now give, the acting roles begins. But the frightening behavior is the calculation of that's what they're doing. They know better. They know better. And for me, when having all these different people doing all this crazy shit, and I could have told them a long time ago, and we're poisoning situation, we're all gonna die. Time is going to run out, and the people at the very top, and the people that make those decisions in the bullshit I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and it's too late. That's why it's so important for me to get to Jerusalem, soak in some spirituality, and for family and friends. Because I think it'd be important. Because, I understand if we were just some Mexican people off the streets and shit, and you were trying to fix things, and that's how I think, but that was not the case. You have the World Trade Center, you have Michael Jackson, and then they did this, and that's it. And unless you have a voice to be able to dissect this at the level of degree as if it would have happened to you, you will not understand or give a shit. You will not. And you're just a parasitical at the highest level degrees. Is not going to change. And they wanted that, feed it to this pig. Now feed it to those piglets. Oh, but they're just white kids. Oh, but they're just chill. Oh, but then let me explain. Try ass fucked for 10 fucking years by 10 fully grown fucking full men. And being punched. Oh, but Michael Jackson sings a song. Community. Oh, but I got old too, and I really don't care. But for 10 years, you rode that carpet all the way down to the cemetery, and you took 10 years all the way down out of my life because of that shit. No, now I live with that. But even if Frankie was in a healthy situation, I still believe, he was in a very, very toxic mentality, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because his behavior, his talking, you don't get fucked by 10 fully grown men and then just brush it off. That's not what you do. This is not what this is, because that's what they want you to do, so then you give the profitable gains to them. And they did. Someone else shows up into the picture. The entertainment business and all these influences they have all work together. And they have a certain type of manifestation and things that they do that they even have to be put in some sort of degree of discipline and order. They have to be placed in some kind of order. But remember, they are the face and blasting of entertainment in the world. Other countries don't seem to be able to produce them. Mexico does not have superstars like Katy Perry, Jennifer Lopez, Taylor Swift. They do not seem to be blasting entertainment and have as many likes and followers and glamorous upscale living than any place and talents in any place in the world. The U.S. does, China doesn't, Japan doesn't. You know, when it comes to a lot of the most of entertainment that's so blasting that so many people like, you know, that are screaming fans, you know, all through different ages. You got a number of them that come to, you know, UK. There's a good few of them. You know, numbers of them. There's, you know, you don't hear about Russia. You don't hear anything about India. You don't hear anything. So, understanding that is a huge movement, political movement that you can make among people, and it has to be properly done and safely done and respectively and honoredly very well. You have to be careful, and then you should make some mistakes so that it allows everybody to know, you know, you're just a human being too. So there is a balances to that, but like I said, it does become, you know, it doesn't change. It doesn't change the circumstances of so much of the stuff that's going on that. Yeah, I mean, I didn't ride the red carpet for any of it. By the time I found out, you know, nobody told me. I was already, you know, Frankie doesn't even know why people, you know, my mother doesn't even know. My dad doesn't talk about it ever once in our life. And it was like he shuns it so small that it's really not that important, but other people don't. And I wasn't getting no blonde Barbie looking girl in my 20s, but my biological father did, and I'm pretty sure that was exactly why he got that woman. And he had Michaela. That wasn't me. I didn't have a family of my own. I don't know whether he's alive, dead, or whatever the circumstances is, but I know he lived a very shit and pathetic life compared to King Cooper, and that image was. The scales of degree are not going to be degraded for a white blonde hair fuck like what this shitbag did, you know, because Kenneth played along with it, and Sarah, and that's when you have that level of money, you should not be picking away at somebody else's, and you should be helping them. And at the most highest level of disrespect, to be a law officer and detective and nurse, what she said, and manipulating my intermediate family, claiming that that's your dad. Oh, but you know, it's so parasitical that it's going to be explained away. They're not going to be thrown into the pit of snakes. They're going to find an excuse. Why? Because that was Frankie. That was Ivan. I talked about this the other day. I can bring up the emotions of I saw my dead sister that was hanging like she was Jesus with her head down, not even able to pick up, and I saw my own lifeless dead sister being picked up by Ivan. But that wasn't me, but it sounds emotional, doesn't it? Well, I'm going to give you a keynote. Now I send it on the beat, but you're not. Yeah. And then you feed this emotion right here, you know, you get the transgender experience in front of billions of crowds. At least that's what I got, you know, like I'll stay in the back and then I'll be tough. All these personas and all these things, my mother doesn't dissect and understand. Many other people don't, but they don't give a fuck. You know, and that's it. What lottery ticket do you think that brought to me? That's my fucking lottery ticket, not yours, motherfucker. That's my lottery ticket, not yours. And it was theirs the whole time. They're the one going into radio station, oh, play political radio. Oh, but I don't get paid much. Now just keep complaining this way. You know, and it's to push you, dumb you down. Because if these didn't want to do what other people around me were. But I don't know what the fuck's going on. I have no idea. No fucking idea what's going on. I think Frankie's definitely going to be his biggest influence more than anything in my life. Ever. You know, because to endure that and me to see that in life. No friends. The one friend you have, one friend at 6, 7 years old is punching you with 250 pounds and fucking you in your ass and you're giving blowjobs. Up until he stops and did it a few times. and then you got to go play with his friend for the next 10 fucking years. And you have one friend. You don't have one friend, and the one friend you have doesn't know what he happens. And he lives 2 houses down from you. You walk into your house, you walk into your room, you see the motherfucker every day, enjoying his walks, enjoying him going into the house, enjoying Diana transgender, enjoying transgender experience, enjoying forgiveness Bible transgender, and Mickey doesn't know. And for 10 years I gotta watch this. But we have Michael Jackson on our table. Nobody knows the explanations, nobody knows the details you're gonna be able to say of what they did to Frankie in high school and the manipulation and all these training mechanisms that are so toxic and bad. You're not gonna be able to, you don't give a shit, and that's why. And I think that'll be the biggest inspiration that, you know, that something like that is. But he gets dumbed down so bad and so fucked up that they try to gratify it to make it very big when both our lives could have been elevated extremely high, but it didn't. And it was just to give that unbelievable amount of credit. You know how they say less is more and more is less? Yeah, that's the case, isn't it? But I think it's important for me to talk about. I hope that people find God, and family members. And I really want to get to Jerusalem. Be there for a while, because it's important. It's absolutely important for me. Whatever my life ends up in a career, if it ever does, just back on the streets or whatever, I need it. And it's not gonna. There's not any. You cannot explain the level of preciousness of your own youth and life, let alone when you're born with the genetics and it gets burnt off like that. And you have Michael Jackson that you experienced. It doesn't change those. I don't have a credit card to spend all the money I want in equipment. I don't have the security of, you don't understand that money and those things give me health and confidence. I don't get that anymore from being able to pick up a girlfriend or a young woman. I don't get none of that. I'm 41 years old. Nobody gives a shit but myself. The people that do care are going to think that much and make it that much. But, I think that it's a little too late. I think that I don't know really what else to say with that particular situation. That I don't know what else to really think of that particular situation with what's happening. I just think he's going to be the biggest. I need to get Jerusalem. I hope people find God more, but it is too late, and they'll scavenge off the little remains left. I think they need to die the pig-infested shit that they did and dwell in it to make sure that the emotions dwell beyond any suffering and pain. Let them dwell in it, because there's people out there that be like, oh, it hurts so much. It hurts. It hurts the emotions. I just, feel sorry for me, motherfucker. And that's what they're doing. And what emotions do you think it is for someone that is like that? What do you think those emotions and experiences? What do you, it's just some people look so pretty, it's just like, oh, Keno, oh, he just, you see, and then just tough man, and then it sucks because, I am accepting that my mother has, a bag of rocks for brains, and, there's other things and forces of life that they did it on purpose. It was no accident, But, I hope the best, and I'm accepting. It's easier as you get older to let go a lot of the things it's a new phase, and that's the experience of life. You can't. We're so stubborn as human beings because that's what we're wired to do, to stay alive, and that's what we're supposed to do. But it does not change the experience of what that experience will never be again. Even in the long stretch of 18 to 30 years old, you're young. Know everything like that. And they will explain it again. And they will throw their fucking pennies for the ticket to heaven at the last minute. I mean, and, you know, it sucks, you know. It sucks. I don't think it should be that way. But I'm accepting, just because my life stopped didn't mean someone else's has to. I've been understood that for a while, but I have something like that just thrown at me, the whole world, and let alone the amount of fame and talent, and then it turned into something bad, a pity party. Oh, now just sing the song for both of them too, it's just, get older, and you won't get to experience those emotions. It's like I'll never experience those. People have their own perceptions, and that's what they want you to think, and that's the value of life. Is there's no value. There's no value of life to the credit that you think of yourself, to what you think maybe someone thinks of you, and that's the truth. They don't. The fact is, you could be so dissecting and so detailed to this sort of experience in life, and have somebody squander it out of your life at a magnitude that it was all selfish and greed because they just didn't get enough, or they didn't get any of it, and they just wanted you to drag your ass all the way down to the fucking bottom with them. And when they finally successfully did it, then I tried to pull out my firearms, and they didn't want me to fire. They didn't want me to be trigger friendly, and I got really pissed off because it's a very high price to pay for very little output. Very little output of this is very little. My father's wealth, my mom's sacrifices, like, even if I had to go to a full-time job and, my opportunities got cut off, like this, I was it. That was it for me. But, I'm accepting to it. I mean, I'm accepting to it. There's other things that I don't want to accept, give up on things of my own family, immediate family, and things that just throwing their fucking filthy pig feces money up their ass and get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here and get all your fucking money. Live a more respectful and better part of life, because that's not going to change. That's what they want. They feed off the forgiveness. They feed off the bullshit. They feed off. It's just not. This was not. I make a mistake once. I make a mistake twice. This is not. I make. This was all the way down the fucking road, shitting your ass. All the way down the road, and that sucks. It sucks. I think that, I play full-time sports just like Frankie did, and I saved him, did all this, and I don't even get nothing to my dad's. Michael Jackson and shit, Katy Perry's right there. I mean, that's it. And I'm accepting to it. I'm accepting the fact that was the end for me. But it's a new existence and understanding before the fatal end, all the long stretch of life. You got health, you got career choices, the purpose of life, what's important. Because, once you reach your 40s, we all know at 40s that, going to be here very much more. You're not the young person you were anymore. And you know that love and kindness and passing the baton to others is now more important. You know it is, because it's not the harmful things that you did to get to that situation. And all the fame or all the money or all the greed and just self-absorbed emotions that you did in gutting out situations like Frankie so that you could get it. And you did. And then change the story, but it isn't going to change the fact that you're going to die. And you don't know what's going to happen. So your mental focus is not so much, I'm trying to be this young 20-year-old girl, young 21, 22, 24-year-old, 25. You get the reactions from people. It's just not the same. It's not, your physical body is not the same. It is not. And we try to make the beauty of life to slow things down. You know, the flowers in life to slow things down, the music to slow things down, to make them all cherishable and fun and creative and more experimental. Our environment to think kindness and figure out how to spread that kindness, and think you're really not doing that when you think you're doing that. And you know, I think that is, you know, to some degree important. And but you know, at 40 years old, at 50 years old, you have a very good clarity. And they say 50s are the golden years because you self-reflect on what your life was in the past, and you get a good clarity picture of what your existence in life was, what human life was, and that you're not going to be here. Many of them have already left, and you're still there. And now you got to figure out how your destination, if there is, and you're much more wiser and intelligent to know how to do that, because you're not only you're just in your 50s and looking at your 40s you don't have anymore. You don't have your 30s, you don't have your 20s, and you barely. And as far down the road you go, the less remembered things you're going to remember when you were 20, when you were 10 years old. I used to ask my dad this question all the time, and a few other people at the nursing home, and old people. Because I was always used to asking questions at old people. So what is it about your life that you still remember when you were 10 years old? And they're 70 years old, or 60 years old. What do you remember when you were 15 years old? What do you remember when you were 20 years old and you saw that beautiful girl? You know, and you made out in the elevator, you know, and she was some hot office-looking girl, you know, and she was like some girl you didn't even know. And she was like a mistress, you know, and you had this samba in the office, you know, or you just saw this, you had just this sort of this euphoria experience with a girl, or some sort of event that happened. It fizzles away, the memory fizzles away, and you just try to carry this love and kindness and try to survive as you're kind of moving along. And as you're moving along the herd, other ones are just picking away at what gets the quality of life and what doesn't, and what you're not supposed to get because I didn't get it, and I have to do what I think is going to be best, and then you're not going to get it, and you're not going to get it, but you didn't get it. So, yeah, it sucks, you know. It's a pretty big, hard impact. Hopefully this resonates some common sense to y'all, but, you know, that's it. But it's a new phase, and, you know, you start to realize many things. At 50 years old, 60 years old, you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to go to college and continue changing my life. You know that kicking the bucket is what they call it, or whatever, is close for your own life. For the life that it's over, you know, is not so far down the road. You don't have the whole life ahead of you down the road like when you're young, like that. The feeling, the knowledge, the absolute awareness, and plus me, the disease, HIV, yeah, I know, stress, but plastic anemia chemotherapy, did very little drug use, smoked meth for about 8 months, and it wasn't like a hardcore addiction. It was like on weekends. Take a break 5 days, and that was do it all over again on a weekend. And it was something around that time. You know, I wouldn't even say 8 months. I'd say more like 5 or 6 months. You know, but you know, that's what I have to say about that. And I was all in my late teens, not as an adult. I had very little any interest in it to be an addiction. But I bet you Michael Rossiter would have never touched drugs if he knew that there was a success. And I met Michael Jackson, and I bet you Michael Rossiter probably wouldn't have wanted to touch drugs. It would have influenced him to never want to touch drugs because he knew there was going to be success. He knew there would have been success. The reason I think Michael Rossiter did so much drugs is because he knew there wasn't going to be a success. The success he knew he was going to get was in the fantasy world that he lived in, and in the dope. That's what I think, because you know, you go to the clubs and you know who's walking in the door and how much work you have to do, and it's just not going to happen. And the odds of it's not going to happen. But you live in this kind of crazy world of own fantasy and that's why I think, because he knew you're never going to be successful. You know, I'd rather just have a good time in my life and fucking DJ in this fantasy world until I die, and at least I enjoyed my life. I like having a good time, you know, because this world is shit, and that's what happens. So, but, you know, I'll make some other videos about some other topics.